Last week was probably the best weeks of the year. The stock market crashed and experienced the corrections as many people expected. Like many of you, I was busy buying stocks that I was waiting to buy for some time already. Since the beginning of the year, I didn't buy much except my favorite ETF since I was expecting corrections. In the previous video, I have already explained why I believe the stock market will keep rising this year. So in this video, I want to share with you what are the best investments for this year. But before we do that, as much as I put effort into these videos, at the end of the I'm not financial advisor. This is not financial advice, and everything that I said in this video for the educational purpose in order to make the best financial decisions that suits your own needs. You must conduct your own research and seek to advice of the licensed financial advisors. So don't do what I say in this video. QQQ. The first investments that I believe is going to do great this year and in the following few years is QQQ ETF. This is not your typical S&P 500 ETF, but slightly different. There is something we have learned from the past years. The tech will grow much faster. The amount of the money that's now poured into the new tech is unbelievable, and as we are moving into the digital world of the 5G will self-driving cars and artificial intelligence, tech is undoubtedly going to have much bigger impact in our lives. Of course, the typical S&P 500 ETF is also invests in tech, but QQQ is almost just about the tech because it invests in the top 100 largest international and domestic companies listed in the Nasdaq stock exchange. Unlike other exchanges, the Nasdaq is known for the technology and innovations and is home for the internet by technology and other companies. At the current age, as such as the stocks listed in the Nasdaq are considered growth overnight oriented and more volatile. Of course, they present higher risks, however, that also presents the bigger opportunity, since tech clearly going to play a much larger role in our lives this coming years. ETF is expected to grow significantly higher than other ETFs. While S&P 500 grew by 18% this year, QQQ grew by 50%. That's the huge difference. That doesn't mean that it's going to continue rising, but if you believe that tech is going to get even bigger, we are going to have the smart cars, homes, cities, and everything connected through 5G in the next decade or so. This is the ETF to stick to. It includes within itself all the tech companies you can think about, from Tesla to Nvidia to Intel. If one of them came up with revolutionary products or services, you will definitely benefit from it as long as you are invested in the ETF. Quantum space crop. The second stocks that I believe that huge potential is quantum space crop, but it's very risky. So please do not invest in this company. If there is one technology that is certainly going to play one of the biggest role in the world is undoubtedly batteries. Batteries are already huge, but in the next 2 decades, the world is going to shift to a battery-based society, and that's not because we want to do that, but rather we have no other choices. Climate change has left little choice for us. Shifting to renewable energy is one thing, but storing that energy is the whole different story. Think about it. Less 2% of the cars that are produced annually electric, and we already have the storage of batteries. Too many batteries, do you think we need to be able to make the other 98% of the cars electric? Even if starting from the next year, every car that will be produced will be electric, We need like 15 to 20 years to replace all existing engines cars with electric. Tesla is, of course, at the head of this industry, but Tesla uses lithium-ion batteries, which are great but present fundamental problems. They are expensive and take a long time to charge, but Tesla solved that problem with the charging stations in your garage so that you can charge your Tesla overnight while you're asleep. That's a great solution. However, if we want to go all electric, we have to build more effective batteries, and that's where quantum space comes into the picture. Traditional lithium-ion batteries use the liquid electrolyte. The lithium dissolves that liquid, drifts through the liquid, and gets the anode and vice versa. But quantum space has replaced that liquid material with the solid material that will make it possible to use lithium metal anode. That's going to make it safer and double the energy destiny, and also make it faster to charge. In other words, the same battery will provide you with the double range. Another disclaimer: I am not an engineer, so if I got something wrong there, please correct me. But the technology seems very promising. VW has already invested over $300 million into this company and recently tested the technology, and it's looked very promising. As the number of electric cars is increasing, this company will be the major player in the industry. 3. Real estate. You know what is the most important thing when buying a house? Your mortgage rate. Even a slight difference is going to be huge over 30 years. Getting 0.5 lower rate will save you a fortune. Last year, since the Fed decreases the interest rates, getting a fixed mortgage was probably one of the best decisions you could make. But it was risky because the market could be overvalued now, and overvalued market means the corrections could be in horizon. Besides, when everyone is buying, it's difficult to find a good deal. Nonetheless, possible. Mortgage rates went as low as 2.5% last year. In comparison, mortgage rates were 4.9% back at the end of the 2018. Even 2019, even before the pandemic, they were floating at around 3.5%. So getting a mortgage at 2.8% for 2.9% or even 3% is actually a good deal, especially if you spend some time finding the good deal in the market. Since buying a house is probably the biggest single purchase in most people's lives, getting a lower rate is probably the best investments one can make it. I'm almost certain that in the next few years the rates will just keep rising. Any big stocks, if we are talking strictly about 2021, then I think that any investments in any of the big tech is going to have a really good return this year. It seems like everyone already agrees that inflation is just going to keep rising, so keeping cash is going to hurt. But holding stocks in any of the largest tech companies is immune against inflation, because no matter how fast the inflation rate is, their stocks are going to rise even faster, because we are going to have a lot of the investors who have to keep their cash somewhere. And one of the places they are going to keep their money is the big tech. I've made a video recently talking about why the stocks market could crash, because it is at least slightly overvalued, but by a crash. I don't mean anything like happened in 2020, but it could be the slightly bigger corrections compared to what we have seen in the recent weeks. If you haven't invested during the corrections, then you probably missed the great opportunity, because a lot of stocks, especially the big tech, were down by 10% give and take. I personally invested in many companies that I have already invested in before, and invested in the few more than I have shared with my patrons on my Patreon page. VTI. I have already suggested multiple S&P 500 ETFs in the previous videos, but I would note that they aren't the only options. There is a variety of ETS, and one of the most popular ones that I personally invest in is VTI. It doesn't just invest in the S&P 500, but in the entire economy of the United States, starting from the small caps to mid caps to largest companies in the market. So it's just moves with the market. It doesn't grow like the Falcon 9, but at the same time it's a safe bet. It's not just good investments for this year, but pretty for any other years. It has a very low expense ratio, which makes it a perfect option for the long-term investments. Last year it grew as much as S&P 500. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. I personally invest in it every month just to keep my portfolio a bit diversified. And now it's time to get at least 2 free stocks from the bowl if you use the link in the descriptions. If you have enjoyed this video, you will most definitely enjoy this custom playlist that I have created specifically for you that has our most popular videos on businesses, investing, and the stocks market that can potentially change your life. And now give this video a thumbs up that it deserves, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Thanks for watching, and until next time.